thank you for joining us for another segment of the Araminta Society Conversations, where Christa and I are discussing living and thriving, making the move to Ghana and the motherland. I'm Muhammida El Muhajir.
And I'm Christa Sanders. It's great to see you once again for what promises to be a very sizzling conversation.
Yeah, so if you don't know, if you haven't listened to other segments, I've been living in Ghana for 10 years. Christa?
20, going on 21 years.
Yes, so we definitely have a wealth of experience and insights that we want to share, that we feel like people are asking us all the time about what it's like to live here, how can you be successful at it. So we're just dropping a few gems, and this segment is one that is like literally, I see so many videos about love.
Yes.
And finding a man, woman, passport day, all this stuff about, you know, finding love here on the continent. So that is the topic of the segment. I see a lot of women on social media. I mean, sure, like men have their own discussion, but we can kind of definitely talk about the women's perspective. A lot of women talking about coming to Ghana, finding a man. They're like, you know, they can't feel like they can't find one in the U.S. or wherever, and they want to come to Ghana, find a man. And I just shake my head.
But there's a lot of men here, Muhammada.
Yeah, definitely a lot of men.
Fabulous ones who look like sculpture.
Yes, but I want to like frame that and give them the proper like way to be thinking about that. So let's jump right in. Like, what, you know, has been your experience, and what do you think like women should be thinking about or should know before they come here to try to find love?
Right. I mean, it's a really loaded question, right? Because all of us want love in this life, and there's lots of options in Ghana. Unfortunately, I find a lot of diasporans, especially not to be ageist, but younger ones, and I'll give the example of my students who found themselves getting involved in relationships with the wrong types of Ghanaian men. Those men who are technically hustlers have time for them, 24 hours, 7 days a week, tell them that they love them within a week, or even in the taxi, I love you. I'm joking, but you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Those individuals typically just want to go to the United States. And so there are a lot of individuals who just want visas. And we just need to be very discerning in terms of who we're dating, because sometimes it hits us like bricks, and we're in this situation and we find out after 3 months we're already having a marriage proposal. This not only happens to students, it happens to people who are grown. I've seen a lot of those cases that unfortunately don't end very well. And so I've seen that and have tried to counsel, advise folks on that. If you're in it and you just want to have a good time, as long as you're safe, you know, that's fine. But just understand, anyone who's available to you at that extent may not be gainfully employed and is therefore interested in going to the United States. That's one group.
Let's jump on that. Let's talk about that for a second, because speaking to that, what I have seen is that a lot of women are so like starved for affection.
It's true.
At home, like maybe from like, I don't know, their growing up or their relationships, maybe they're not getting enough attention or affection. So the first person who could be the taxi driver, the fruit seller, the Uber driver, whoever is giving them, making them feel beautiful, which is what like all women want. But like the first person, like maybe it's genuine, maybe it's not, who are giving them that time, that affection, they are ready to drop everything. I mean, I have friends who literally have gotten married after like being in this country for like 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, girl, what are you doing?
Yes.
And she was just like, so starved for affection and attention that when she got it, she was like, I'm not letting it go. Meanwhile, for anything. I don't care if this person wants a visa. I do not care. I have been waiting my whole life to feel this loved, and like, so I feel like that is something like people are not really discussing. They're not talking about it, right? That is so,
So it's really about being self-aware and knowing what our issues and so on are, and that's a really, you know, challenging process for all of us, that kind of self-awareness. But just understand that there are people who are literally waiting on the other side of Kotoka International Airport who know the street that you are on before you even literally land and pick up your baggage, who could be waiting at your hotel, who could be in different parts of the city. We see this a lot, unfortunately, on our beaches and arts center and those kind of places, who are in need of something, but not necessarily you. They are in need of a way to leave Ghana. We're coming because we love it and it's an experience for us. Others have a different goal in mind. So I don't know if there's a solution to it other than us talking about it and sharing that it is a growing phenomenon. Yeah. Sometimes it's even happening online. I don't know if you saw recently this show, is it 90 Day Fiancé? Yes. And I saw this guy, you know, from the States who married this lady. And so I don't want to say anything about their relationship, but you just have to be careful about anything that happens within a period of a month to 3 months, 6 months, so quickly you're already, you know, getting married, right? I think we can only just share with people to be cautious about that, because that may not be building a long-lasting relationship or marriage in this case. Yeah, 100%. I think also just, you know, people in Ghana tend to get married a lot earlier. That's right. Than they do in the US. How early would you say? I would say, you know, mid-20s. Yeah. 25 to 30, I feel like it's an average. I'm not like sociologist where I got those numbers. Yeah, but I would just say in my experience between 25 and 30 is typical age. Now, like back in like maybe say 50s or 60s in the U.S., that was the norm too. But now in the 2020s, especially in a place, I live in New York, as well, yes, where they're not even thinking. So sometimes when women are coming over here younger, like there's a much larger pool, but like they're not thinking about marriage, when they could have been. They should be at that time. And then the ones who do come, the women 35 plus who are thinking about marriage, men their age are typically married. Now, what's happening there? Wow. That's a tricky one. What I would just say is there are a lot of men out here, and in many parts of the globe, but I've seen in Ghana, that may not be wearing their wedding rings, or as I think we rightfully said, may be wearing them, who are still very available. You know, and that's an unfortunate situation, but I've seen a lot of women walk right into that trap of saying, well, I didn't even know he was married, and full relationships are happening. Now, this society in its history was a polygamous society, and there may not be as much scrutiny and frowning on this idea as perhaps in the West, but it is still a challenge and a problem. People have families, people have children, so they really shouldn't be out in these streets in that way. And people fall into that really quickly. I've seen that so many times. And sometimes one doesn't even see it coming. If someone doesn't see it coming, there's no clue of it. So, one of the things here I found is that you have to ask people. You have to ask our Ghanaian sisters, does this seem culturally appropriate? This person, do they know? Here, it's also about name recognition. The communities are very, very small. So, just be careful and cautious. Should be talking to people, the likes of yourself and myself, who kind of know the society and community before getting deeply involved and connected. Yeah. That's what I would say. Yeah, I definitely, because even like I was saying, the friend that I have, I was like, we know the lay of the land, right? We know like the layers of the society here as well. And I'm like, girl, that's not it. I'm like, let me find you somebody if you trying to like do this, but like, that's not it. But like, again, that kind of like, I know it all sort of thinking, she wasn't hearing it. Now, later, of course, she's like, girl, you were so right. But after the fact. After the damage has already been done. After he got his visa. And said, deuces. We shouldn't be laughing about it. It's actually extremely painful. But I think we're saying this because we've seen it happen to a lot of people. So be very discerning, be very cautious, ask around. Surnames are a big thing here in the community. Last names, sorry. Oh my gosh, you are so Ghanaian. She is so Ghanaian. Ghanaian at the same time. Yes. So we have to do our research. Always do our research. I used to say that to my students. Let me do the research. Let me see where that person is coming from. And it may seem a little bit traditional and conservative, but we're in a traditional conservative society in Ghana. And so we need to really look at that first before we get deeply involved in what could become very messy, quite honestly.
I will also say I've heard like amongst, Ghanaian circles, like, they may like the way, like, foreigners look, act maybe sometimes, especially like Black Americans, but they crazy.
Oops, that part.
Yeah. So
why are we saying that?
Yeah. Right.
Is that really the perception?
Yeah. And then there's that term, akata. What's that mean exactly? What's that mean exactly? Is it just like a slur? I'm asking my producer here. It's just like a slur. It's kind of like a slur, but it's a slur. But I imagine now, definitely negative connotations, but I feel like it's summed up in that, like what people don't know, if you've never been to the U.S. and never really been deep amongst like the Black community, the level and the depths of our trauma, right? I don't think we even understand. Yeah, we don't understand. So what I have found, like, I'm just kind of jump around here, but what I love most about Ghana is allowed me a period of healing.
Yes.
Spiritually. Like, I think we don't know that we need that because we're just kind of like under
in the rat race of America. That you don't even have time to stop and reflect.
Yeah.
And, practice wellness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Spiritual wellness even.
So all that trauma that we have, and we know Black women are at the lowest of the totem pole in the society of American society. So what happens is you come over here, you get in a relationship with someone. Hey, I mean, people are human, so they're going to have issues. I mean, but they're not going to have the levels of trauma that we have, right?
Exactly.
And so we know in a intimate relationship, that's when your shit comes out. Okay, this is like, right, comes out, right? So what happens is this person maybe not have the same levels of trauma that you have, and maybe just, things that happen in a normal relationship are going to trigger you, and then we let all of our stuff out.
Yes.
And so when people say that we're crazy, even in America too, they're not looking at the context of it. And then we often are not looking in the context and understand that before maybe we get into some of these relationships, especially with the foreigner, where you're going to have these cultural challenges, let alone.
And remembering also what marriage means in this society versus what marriage means in the West. I mean, this is real talk.
Yeah.
So here in Ghana, marriage is about families coming together. I'm not going to say it's not about love. Definitely it's about love. But the focus in the West is more on love, falling in love, the big romantic whatever. And, you could come from nothing, like background, maybe whatever. Here, that doesn't happen. You have to be of a certain socioeconomic status, families coming together and agreeing. Like, it's just such a different concept. And so coming into this and not knowing there's so much that has to be learned. So I would say you really have to study that person very, very well and not jump into anything immediately. Now, having said that, I am also an example of an African American who got married here, had a very beautiful, wonderful wedding, married into a very nice family and that kind of thing. And there are plenty of examples of people who also have that path. So it can be found. But that's like after 6 years, 5-6 years, right? Of really getting to know a situation. And no situation is perfect, right? So, I think it's important for women to also interview Ghanaian women, on men here, on traditions here, and not to stay sort of like in that expat bubble where you don't get to know the culture and then what's normal in a relationship, So I feel that doing that is important, and that takes time. That takes time. Otherwise,
people are rushing. I think that's what it is.
People are
rushing. Yeah.
Otherwise, you have people like yourself, myself, who are happy to share our stories like we are today. There's also this phenomenon for people who end up moving their entire lives over here, being the latest thing on the block in Ghana. I've been that latest phenomenon that arrived, and you have too, if we're honest with each other. And so you'd be getting a lot of attention. There would be quite a few suitors. And so there are people also who are just here for a moment in time and not for anything serious, because you're new, you're interesting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to lead to a long-term relationship. So just like anywhere in the world, we need to exercise caution. At the same time, have fun. There's plenty of outstanding men in this country. You just have to find the right one.
But yeah, don't think that like it's just like these boatloads of men waiting to marry you, your African king. Girls,
like
come on now.
the videos that are going viral now, and not to say anything badly about it, but what I see often on these reels is these Ghanaian men in like kente and like fans and muscles and coconut oil down and shea butter down, giving you a massage at the waterfall. Now that is a true experience that is happening in the country, and I'm not hitting that because a number of people have done it and they love it, but they think that's Ghana. The king is waiting for me and he's gonna shea butter me down, and then we're gonna get into this amazing romantic relationship that later leads to marriage, baby, kids, and living happily ever after. That might not be it, ladies.
Right. So just some things to think about. Another thing I would say, wherever you are, like if there is a community of Ghanaians, of Nigerians, Senegalese, wherever they are, where you are in the world, like tap in. Like learn a little bit before you get here, right? Learn the food, maybe learn how to cook some of the food, before you like jump and learn some things. I feel like that is something I'm like, they're like, you want to marry a Ghanaian king, but you don't even talk to the Ghanaians in the Bronx or where. I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like some of those cultural things you could kind of like, if that's something that you really want to do, you could kind of like tap into them a little bit earlier.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's very important. Or understanding some of the traditional roles that are still expected of women. I mean, even in modern day society, Ghana, that come along with marriage. So for example, I'm a person, I don't cook. That's a challenge in the Ghanaian society because there are expectations around that, right? So again, it's just about knowing what the culture is about, doing your research, and asking people and talking with people about it. Because this could go on and on and on. There's a lot to learn in this department, but it's also something that is available and interesting to enter relationships with people here.
Woo, yep. So that one, we've getting a lot of questions and interest about talking about love in Ghana, finding love on the continent. So definitely wanted to kind of like spend some time, do a segment on that. So thank you for joining us today for another Araminta Society conversation.
That was a hot one.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sweating from that one.
So please,
hopefully you took something from
Hopefully, you got some, interesting notes and insights, perspectives that might be helpful for those before you get on the plane heading over. So thank you.
Signing off for now.
Yep. Join us for another episode.